Phillip Rivers was signed to the Indianapolis Colts for a $25 million one-year deal. When this announcement was made that there was sources saying that the deal was all but done, we put it out there, by the way, a few weeks ago that Phillip Rivers was coming to the Colts just because the Frank Reich relationship seemed to be one that was very close. Frank Reich, now head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, was Phillip Rivers' offensive coordinator in San Diego. They had a lot of success. Rumors are coming out that the Indianapolis Colts also reached out to another quarterback that Frank Reich had coached to a lot of success, Nick Foles of the Jacksonville Jaguars, for a potential trade, but the Jaguars wouldn't budge because it's inside their own division. So they pulled the trigger on another older white man who was retiring in Florida, and that would be old Phillip Rivers. Indianapolis Colts fans are not happy about this. Now, granted, it could be a loud minority of Colts fans that are speaking out against us on Twitter, but boy, it feels like these Colts fans do not like Phillip Rivers. They think he's old, they think he's going to be a statue, and they still remember in 2007 and 2008 when Phillip Rivers and the Chargers came into the Colts house and beat them. Now, granted, that second game in 2008, whenever the Los Angeles or San Diego Chargers beat the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis, Mike Cyphers dominated that game as their punter. Hunter Smith actually got moved on to another play. I got hired because of Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, basically. So there's a reason for me to have a little bit more of a gratitude to Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. But Phillip Rivers is going to be a Colt, and it doesn't feel as if the Indianapolis Colts fans absolutely love that. And let me tell you something, Colts fans. I understand that, just like me, Jacoby Brissett last year for the first half of the season before our guest in 10 minutes, Cam Hayward, picked up Quentin Nelson and dumped him on Jacoby Brissett's knee. Jacoby Brissett was an MVP-like quarterback. I was even saying that. MVP-like quarterback. He was coming in circumstances that were unprecedented. The starting quarterback, the once-in-a-generation quarterback, retired 10 days before the season. 10 days before the season, the starting once-in-a-generation quarterback retired. Jacoby Brissett stepped up, got paid $20 million to do so, and for the first half of the season looked incredible. Then he got hurt in the last half of the season. He sat out a game. Hoyer came in, threw 45 interceptions, and Jacoby Brissett comes in, and he did not look great. And then when Chris Ballard had to address the question at the podium after the season, where I think he talked for an hour and 30 minutes or something like that to the press, basically answered everything. They talked about Jacoby Brissett's future, and he said, we didn't know if he was our future or not. That's why we only gave him a 2-year deal or whatever. So he left it a big question mark, like what was going to happen in the future. And Phillip Rivers is a guy who has played good football for a long time, just never been able to win the Super Bowl. And all Indianapolis Colts and some of the Chargers fans who see him leaving have been tweeting to us whenever we mention this, is just wait until he throws an interception late in the game to lose it for you. That's what Phillip Rivers is going to do. Because I put out a video of him trash talking yesterday in Jacksonville, and he didn't even swear. He's like in his 40th year in the NFL, and he's still trash talking defensive linemen. Like, I love everything about that. I like a guy who chirps. Now, granted, he doesn't swear. He chirps a lot different than I would ever do it. But I like somebody who has that competitive juices. And if I understand it looked like he was throwing a med ball there towards the end of the season a little bit. But I think he was potentially knowing that his time at the Chargers was about done. He didn't move to L.A. He was still driving from San Diego. I think he was just huck and chuck and just trying to move on as fast as possible. If he still has any good arms, good throws left in that arm, I think he'll be good for the Indianapolis Colts. That's a good team. Now, Colts fans are seeing a lot of these other free agent quarterbacks get signed. Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, to just name a few. Now Cam Newton's on the trading block. And they're like, well, you took Phillip Rivers over all these people. It seems like Chris Ballard said this was a good move because Frank Reich and his relationship is a deep one. But now what do you do with Jacoby? Do you keep Jacoby? No, I think you have to trade Jacoby. So now all of a sudden, Jacoby Brissett, who was the starting quarterback last year, who the locker room loved, by the way. He led the locker room when Andrew Luck was the quarterback. Then he becomes a starter, has success. The locker room loved him. Now you're bringing in Phillip Rivers on a 1-year deal. How is that relationship going to go? Jacoby Brissett, by all counts, cool dude, good dude. But how's that relationship going to go? Is Chris Ballard going to have to move Jacoby? And does Jacoby Brissett end up back at the New England Patriots on a restructured deal in Josh McDaniels' offense that he came from? It's possible, but nobody will ever truly know until it happens.
Go ahead.
Do you think Colts fans would have been upset if it was Nick Foles too? Like or do you think they would have been happy, or they just don't like Phillip Rivers? Because
there's videos on the internet of Phillip Rivers and 5 whites from Indianapolis who are fans of the Colts after that playoff game ended, and Phillip Rivers is chirping with those fans, and those fans are flipping him off. Now, there's been people showing up in my mentions after tweeting about Phillip Rivers coming to the Colts. They're like, he said F you to my mama. I'm like, by the way, I don't think Phillip Rivers ever said that. I think your mama's potentially lying about what Phillip Rivers said, because in the heat of battle here, with other people swearing at him, including the ref when he's mic'd up, he doesn't swear. Like, I don't think Phillip Rivers swear. And that's why I think when he gets in Indianapolis and he throws a touchdown or two and he does an interview and people see who he is here in Indianapolis, I think Phillip Rivers is going to be beloved. But until then, Colts fans are like, hey, he's going to have to prove that he wants to be here for me to really want to be a fan. He flipped off my mama. And you're telling me he didn't swear? Well, he did it with his eyes then. We all knew what he meant. That's how Colts fans feel about Phillip Rivers right now. But Phillip Rivers, I think he could be good for the team. Just that competitive juice. And he is driven to win a Super Bowl, by the way, more than any of these other older quarterbacks. No offense to Tom Brady. He is driven for greatness. Obviously, TB12 treatment is a mindset. He has that Mamba mentality like Kobe. Same with Kobe, like Drew Brees. But this is a guy who doesn't have one. So the question is, will he be able to get one? Is he a guy that can win the big one? And is he a guy that will be able to get it with this team? That is to be seen. But what do you do with Jacoby Brissett? That's a massive decision he's going to have to make.
Yeah, the Jacoby part is tough. But obviously, like you said, like they're not sold that he's the guy. So why not bring in Phil for 1 year? If he stinks and they're not any good, then you get rid of him. You're not committing to him for the next like 5 or 6 years. You know, I mean, it's a trial by error type of thing. And then what if they go out and win the division next year? You know, I mean,
they're saying you could franchise tag Phillip Rivers next year too. So it's even if he has a good year and you can't restructure a deal or whatever, you can franchise tag him. And now, I'm granted, at this level in his career and stage in his career, in the way Chris Ballard operates, in the way Frank Reich operates, in the way Phil Rivers operates, I would assume they'd be able to figure something out. But everybody's like, well, if they want him for another year, they can just franchise tag him, which probably smart. Next year's franchise tag probably be like $38 million or something like that. It's $33 million this year. I assume it's only going to go up when Patrick Mahomes gets his deal done. That's only going to lift up the franchise tag.
I think what Colts fans have to realize is that people are in their positions because they're smart. Ballard and Reich have got to watch Jacoby now for a couple years. If they trusted that he was the quarterback that could win them a Super Bowl, they wouldn't have gone out and looked at Phillip Rivers or Nick Foles.
And by the way, Chris Ballard was put in a position last year where they were like, oh, let's see what we got with Jacoby. Like literally, we have to see what we got with Jacoby. We brought him in here for a reason. The locker room loves him. Let's see what it is. And Jacoby played great football. And I think that's where a lot of Colts fans are. They're like, this kid played really good until he got hurt. And then he didn't. But if Ballard and Frank say we need to move on, I would trust the people that are watching film every single day.
Yeah.
Chris Ballard hasn't made that many mistakes.
No.
I honestly don't think Chris Ballard has made that many mistakes since coming to the Colts. They haven't won as much, but I don't think he's made that many mistakes. It's like when you gamble and you pick the right team and they don't play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Happens a lot. Like the players are supposed to do what they're supposed to do, and then sometimes they just don't do what they're supposed to do.